Hello, this is the first of two videos looking at the basic structure of Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. It's very familiar in English, less familiar to most people in the original language. Bereshit, bara Elohim, at Hashemim, ve'at haaretz. Now, to work out the underlying meaning of this, we need to know the Gematria value of the Hebrew letters, and this is the standard Gematria scheme running from Aleph 1 to Tav 400. If you're not familiar with this, you'll see that there are 9 units, 9 tens, and 4 hundreds. This is the scheme by which 95 to 99% of Gematria in Hebrew should be counted, in my estimation. There are other methods, but they are of far subsidiary importance to this one. So when we count the first word, Bereshit, we see that the first letter, Beth, has a value of 2, Resh 200, Aleph 1, Shin 300, Yod 10, and Tav 400. So the total of the first word is 913. The other letters, the other words, have values of 203, 86, 401, 395, 407, 296. We will see later on that these are incredibly important numbers. They have obviously been chosen with enormous care. But for the purposes of this video, the main thing is that the total value of the verse is 2,701. Possibly the most important number in the universe. Well, is it? Let's look at it. For one thing, it has the property of being the diagonal of a square which encloses a circle of almost exactly 6,000 circumference. 6 is the number of creation, and it's a very neat round number. 600 is also the value in Greek Gematria of cosmos, the universe, the world, perfect order. By a related geometry, 2701 brings out the number 12,000. This is the circumference of a circle drawn around a square with sides of 2701. Now obviously 12,000 or 12 are both very important biblical numbers. There are 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus had 12 disciples. Cosmically, there are 12 astrological signs, 12 months in the year, 12 hours in the day. 12 is a number of the complete circle. Now, if we just focus on this square of 2701 sides, a new circle can be drawn within it with a much less regular looking circumference, 8,485.4. However, that is another extremely important number as the square root of 72. Almost exactly. The square root of 72 is 8.4853. Now 72 is a number of critical cosmic significance. A look at every number Plato ever mentioned is a factor or a multiple of 72. And in the Hebrew Kabbalah, 72 gives the full name of God, or the 72 explicit names of God, known as the Shem HaMeforash. So it is interesting that 2701 brings out 72 and 12,000. There is also a connection to the name of God. A square with an area of 2701 holds a circle of radius 26. 26 is the value of God's name, Yahweh. However, it is in triangular numbers, or 2701 is a triangular number, that its greatest significance comes. Now, triangular numbers are numbers which can be stacked up as units in triangles. Here are the first 6 triangular numbers, and you'll notice that, for example, the second triangular number is 3 because it has a base of 2 and sides of 2. 21 is a 6th triangular number because its base is 6 and each side measures 6. 2701 is the 73rd triangular number, and this has a base of 73 units and 73 rows, or 73 units on each side. A very important property of 2701 is that it is a product of 37 and 73. And 37 and 73 are decimal mirrors of each other. Before we move on, I'd like to show you one word which is related to 37 and 73. It is the Hebrew word chokhmah, which means wisdom. Now, the Gematria evaluation of the 4 letters in chokhmah is 8 plus 20 plus 40 plus 5 equals 73. However, if counted by the alternative Gematria code running from Aleph 1 to Tav 22, the letters are 8 plus 11 plus 13 plus 5 equal 37. So 73 and 37 are both values of chokhmah. Now, this word is particularly significant because it is the second sephirah on the Kabbalistic tree of life. And we see it there on the top right in green. Why would the second of the Sephiroth be chosen to represent Genesis? Well, one possible reason is that the first Sephirah, Keter, is not really representative of anything manifest. Chokhmah is the first thing which emerges from the void of Keter. Anyway, back to the numbers, we see that 2701 also has a decimal mirror, 1072, and the really interesting thing happens when you add these two together, because you find they equal 3773. And 3773 is a beautiful homage to the number 7, being 77 times 7 times 7. Now, both 37 and 73 are prime numbers, 37 being the 12th prime number and 73 being the 21st prime number. Notice anything? Yep, they are mirrors of each other. Now, if we put together these two primes, we get the composite number 1221, and this has interesting factors of 37 and 33, 37 being the building number, and it's also the Gematria value of Abel, the son of Adam and Eve, who was killed by his brother Cain. 33 is the value of Abel by a different spelling. The second version has an Aleph at the start to give it the lower total, and this is found in various different books of the Bible, whereas the first version is only in chapter 4, where the story is first told. In total, there are 21 occurrences of Abel in the Old Testament, and this may relate to the 21st prime. moving on to the alternative number 2112, we see that its factors are 64 and 33. Once again, possibly another occurrence of Abel. But 64 is relevant too, because it is 37 times the square root of 3. So the building number and 3 comes back again in the alternative factors. If you put together the two primes, we get 33, and the two compound numbers, we get 3333. So it's all 3s and 37 in the factors. Another way of looking at this is by squaring those two numbers, and we find that 12 squared and 21 squared are 144 and 441 decimal mirrors. Put them together, we get 585. Take them apart and we end up with 297. The first of these gives the value of Elohim Sabaoth, the Lord of Hosts. The second, Elohim Givor, the mighty God. Now that could be a coincidence, I don't know, I'm not vouching for anything, but it looks like an interesting synchronicity to me. Now here is 2701 laid out as the 73rd triangle. And what we notice is that it has a centre, the blue dot, and that is number 1525. If you start counting row by row from any corner, any of the three corners, you reach the middle at pebble 1525. This is 49 rows from the top, 7 squared, and it is 25 rows from the bottom, 5 squared. It is the 25th pebble from the left and the 25th pebble from the right. So both of those numbers, 7 squared and 5 squared, produce the centre point. However, there is a different way of finding the centre, and that is to look either from the corners or from the middle of either face. And if you go to the corners, go to the centre from the corners, you have to go in 24 units, and it is the 25th. If you go in from the sides, it is the 13th unit, it is 12, and it is the 13th. So one way of representing this is from the corners, it is 73 units, and from the sides, can you guess? Yeah, it's 37 units. It's remarkably neat. And the triangle can also be considered with an edge of 216 units. This is 6 times 6 times 6, and significant as the dimensions of a cube, a 6-sided cube. A particularly important figure in geometry because its cubic volume is equal to its surface area. This makes it a unique figure. Within the perimeter are 2,485 units, and this is the 70th triangular number. 70 is particularly important, well, for several reasons. One, it's a product of 7 and 10, and these are the numbers of perfection and completeness in numerology. Mystically, 70 is important as the value of the Hebrew word sod, meaning, well, the secret or esoteric philosophy. This is the 4th level of the Torah. In a way the highest, certainly the most secret level. Moses taught the Torah on 4 levels, and Sod is the innermost level, the hidden level. So within the structure of the big triangle, a smaller triangle can be isolated with 703 units. It's pointing downwards. 703, Kabbalistically 73, and it is the 37th triangular number. Around it, the three triangles in gold are each comprised of 666 units. 666 being the 36th triangular number. Now I just want to look quickly at 37. I call this the builder's number because it seems to be the main unit of construction in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. We find that 666, while being the 36th triangular number, is also 37 times 6 plus 6 plus 6. And 703 is the 37th triangular number, made from 19 times 37. And if you add them together, 666 and 703, we get 1369, which is 37 squared. The two prime factors, 73 and 37, are intrinsically related by six-fold geometry. For example, if we draw a six-pointed star of 73 units, we find that there are 37 in the interior. The exterior perimeter is 36. This can also be rearranged as an internal hexagon, not a hexagram, surrounded by six triangles of 6. Even more spectacular is 2701, arranged as 73 hexagrams, each made of 37 units. It is an amazing six-fold symmetry built up of those two prime factors, 73 and 37. Now, Notarikon is a technique closely allied to Gematria, but here one simply takes the first letter of each word. Notarikon, it comes from like the word notary, meaning a secretary who writes in shorthand. So this is a kind of a shorthand count for the words. And here the red letters are counted: bet 2, aleph 1, hey 5, vaf 6, hey 5, giving a total of 22. This is significant as the number of letters in the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. It signifies completeness. It also gives the Gematria value of the word ichud, meaning oneness or completion. 22 is also Plato's number of the soul, which he considered to represent order in the cosmos. The factors of 22 are 1 and itself, and 2 and 11. They sum to 36. 36 obviously is a very important number. The philosopher Philo stated, "By the use of 36, the Creator made the world." Now, Philo is a particularly interesting character because he is described as a Hellenized Jew. He was Jewish, and he had a Greek name, and he was highly educated in Greek philosophy, Greek thought. He was born about 15 to 20 years before Christ, and so he kind of bridges the Old Testament world with the New. And a lot of his philosophy kind of predates or anticipates the Christian philosophy which developed after the death of Jesus. 36 is obviously 6 times 6. and it is the sum of the first three cubes. And we've seen it before in the 2701 triangle, a very integral part of the triangle. Now, 36 has some very interesting properties. We see that the sum of the first numbers is 666. That means that's the 36th triangular number. But also the sum of the first 36 triangular numbers is 8,436. It's 12 times 703. The sum of the first 36 squares is 16,206, which is 6 times 2701. So already we've seen the main structural parts of the triangle, 2701 triangle, emerging from the properties of 36. If you take the first number from the second, you get 7,770. And if you take the second number from the third, you get 7,770. Okay, it's a triple digit repeat. It also has the property of being 37 times 70 plus 70 plus 70. No escape from the builder's number 37. If we add the second and the third totals, we get 37 times 666. If we add all three numbers, we find either 36 times 703, or 37 times 684, or 38 times 666. Now, of these, we know 703 already, we know 666, but we haven't yet come across 684. Why could that be significant? Well, if you look, you'll notice that it is a difference between 2701 and an anagram, 2017. Could 2017 be relevant to our triangle? Well, the 2017th pebble is in the central row, row 37 out of 73. This row has 37 units. The 19th is the central unit of the row. So 2017 is the topological centre of the triangle. It's not the symmetrical centre, it's the topological centre. And the difference between that and the top is 684. Now, the 7 words making up the total, if we look at them closely, we notice that the last 2 words, Vayat ha'aretz, sum to 703. The previous 5 words sum up to 1998, which we have considered as 666 times 3. However, if we transpose the third word, Elohim, with the second word, bara, we have a new structure of 999 plus 999 plus 703, which looks more than intentional. And using this structure, we can make a new form. We can change the triangle to a trapezium. Central triangle of 703 and 2 parallelograms of 999. What's interesting about this is the perimeter has, guess how many units? Yep, 6 times 6 times 6. Exactly the same perimeter as the triangle. And along the top surface there are 55 units. Along each side there are 37 units, and the base is 91 units. These 3 figures in red have an interesting property in that they are highly symmetrical. In fact, they are uniquely symmetrical. 55 is the 10th triangular number, and also the 5th pyramidal number, which means a sum of squares. 37 has 3 elements of figure symmetry. It's the second octagon, the third hexagram, and the fourth hexagon. A hexagram being a 6-pointed star, a hexagon is just a regular polygon. 91 also has 3 aspects of figure symmetry. It's a 13th triangular number, the 6th hexagon, and the 6th pyramid. 37 and 91 are unique in having 3 orders of simple symmetry. 55 is unusual in having 2. No other combination of 3 numbers has a greater level of symmetry, figure symmetry, than these 3. And in other videos we'll look at 91 in a little bit more detail, as it is an exact partner to 37. So in summary, we've seen that the total of 2701 is hardly likely to be accidental. It is an incredibly important number for its structural implications. It's a 73rd triangular number, and it is a product of these 2 very interesting prime numbers which mirror each other. The next video, directly related to this, will be looking at the 7 numbers making up the total and their mathematical or algebraic relations. Before closing, I would just like to give full credit to Vernon Jenkin, the man who is responsible for a great deal of the research which you've seen in this video. It is from him that I learnt much that I have presented to you. His work can still be found online, and I will put these in the notes to the video. Please subscribe and click like if you've enjoyed this video, and watch out particularly for the follow-on which looks at the numbers.